What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Been getting a lot of questions from you all, especially this time of year, on what kind of bow setups we're shooting this year. We've discussed that in the past, but we haven't done a video like this in a while on what we're shooting for 2021, so we're gonna run through them here real quick. Me, Ted, and Greg are out here in the yard, and then later in the episode, I'll send it out to Jake and Zach and they can show you guys what they're shooting as well. I'll start off, I'm shooting the Bear Whitetail Legend. I got this thing last January, I think. And it's actually real similar to your bow. Ted's been shooting that species now for several years, and we like these single cams that Bear makes. I shot the Bear Paradox last year. It's another one of their single cams. And for whatever reason, like our heavier arrow setups just seem to tune real well out of these bows. Mine's set to 70 pounds. I think the bow is 31 inches axle to axle, but this one's been shooting good so far. I got this one because it reminds me a lot of Ted's bow, and he's killed all kinds of stuff with that thing so far.
Got old reliable there.
Yeah, this thing's been using it for like 3 years now, so.
Same bow.
Same one. Just changed the sight this year. That's the only thing I've changed for the last 3 years. But went to this hot wire sight because there's 2 set pins and then the bottom one's a slider. And everybody else in the group has used them too and seemed like they really like them. So this will allow me to shoot 40 and 50. Since we're going to be going after pronghorn like 2 weeks from now, I wanted a slider on there so I could shoot out a little bit further.
So what are you shooting poundage wise on your species?
I'm shooting 60 pounds, got 28.5 inch draw length, and these arrows. This one is a little bit lighter setup. This is what I'm going to use for pronghorn. I think it's got a 75 grain insert in there and then a 125 grain head, and that's the Magnus Black Hornet, which is the same thing that I used last year. So I'm going to use these for pronghorn, and then I'll probably switch to these THP arrows for the fall. This is the same weight and everything that I used last year for my arrows. I think it's 550 grains total. It's got a 100 grain insert and then the 125 grain broadhead still. So that's what I used last year for deer, and it worked real well, so I'm gonna use the same thing like
Nice,
that.
Sweet.
So,
what bow do you have, Greg?
I've got the Redemption. It's a lot like the Status that I shot last year.
Yeah.
And what was new about that, and what I like the most, is the cam, the EKO cam.
And it's on the Divergent
And
now
it's
too.
on the Divergent, it's on the Redemption, it's on the Status, and it's an awesome cam. It's adjustable, so you can adjust your draw length on there, you can adjust the let off, all with a couple of set screws, module, and a draw stop. And what I really like about it is that it's a smooth drawing bow, it's got a deep valley, and then it drops in, and the back wall is rock solid, which something I really look for in a bow. So I love that cam system, and I mean the bow itself it's a little bit shorter than the Status. That was a 33 inch bow that I was shooting last year, and the Redemption is 31. So it's been a sweet shooting bow, turkey hunted with it. And the rest of the setup is pretty similar to what everybody else is shooting. Got the hot wire sight on there, just got the basic stabilizer, got the Sync MD drop away rest, and then the Hex Light quiver. I mean, this is basically all the accessories on our bows. It's pretty much all the same.
Like we are just all shooting like the exact same thing, other than the stabilizers are probably a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why we ended up with that, that THP package that you can get from Trophy Ridge, is because we all like the same accessories. And
what kind of arrows you shooting?
I'm shooting Day 6 arrows. I shot these last fall, and I've got those new the Vector hammers coming in, the THP brand arrows. So I'll probably switch over to them when those come in. But this is what I shot last year, deer hunting. That is the Iron Will 125. Came out to be about 605 grains, and had good luck with it. I mean, shot a few deer with it and all had the same result, pass-throughs, and pretty easy recoveries on them. This year I may change it up a little bit and go with a heavier broadhead and lighter insert. So I may go with something like the Iron Will, the 200 grain broadhead, which I have on right there. And may do some experimenting with single bevel,
Grizzly
200,
stick.
Yeah, Grizzly stick, 200 grain Samurai there.
Yeah, I guess I didn't talk about my arrows. They're pretty similar to what I shot last year. In fact, I think they might be almost exactly the same. I'm shooting the Cutthroat 150 single bevels. I've shot these heads now, this will be the 3rd year in a row I've shot them. And I've got about 120 grain insert in the end of the arrow right there. It's an insert, outsert, or whatever. I don't know exactly what that's called, but Ethics makes these.
Yep.
Then it's on a Sirius Apollo arrow, which Ranch Fairy sent me, 250 spine. Last year I shot 3 fletch arrows with a high helical, and this year I'm shooting the 4 fletches. But it's the same arrow, and it's about a 630 grain arrow, maybe 640 by the time you talk about putting in these nocks. And I guess that should be another thing we should mention here real quick. We all shoot lighted nocks of some sort. These are nocturnals. These are the white ones, and these are my favorite ones that I've shot in the last couple of years. I actually have another package of them here that just came in the mail today. We noticed that the strobe nocks don't work as well, that a lot of these companies make, like they're just harder to see when you're shooting downrange, especially when you're looking back at the video after the fact. The strobe nocks are just way harder to see. And then we even noticed over the years that blue lighted nocks don't show up quite as good.
It's either red or green seem to do the best, but yeah, the strobe ones, never been a big fan of myself.
There's a bunch
to each their own.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of different lighted nock options out there. We've used the Glory nocks, we've used Luminox. These are nocturnals, and these are probably my favorite ones that I've shot in the last few years.
Yeah, that's what I've been using for the last several years. Yep,
nocturnals. That's what we're gonna be flinging this year at the Bucks here real soon.
All right, what's up everybody? I am gonna go through my setup now. I'm shooting the same exact bow that I shot last year. This is the Bear Divergent EKO. I think it's called the Fred Bear pattern on there. I like that a lot. It's pretty good looking, I think. But yeah, I think all my accessories and everything are gonna be the same as last year. I'm shooting a 3-pin, that 3rd pin being a floater. I like that a lot. I'm gonna be going elk hunting this year, so I might actually need that. A little bit extra distance, but it's nice to have just for practicing the yard too. I've been practicing out to 50, 60, 70 yards quite a bit. Shooting the same sight and drop away as last year, so I won't really go over that much. But I'm gonna be shooting the same brand of arrows as last year. They're the Vector arrows. These are the THP branded ones that we just came out with, 4-fletched. And these are about 740 grains total. I'm shooting 200 grain heads up front. I've been messing with a couple different styles here. These are the Grizzly Stik Samurais, I believe. And then these are the Tough Head Evolution 200 grains. I'm not quite sure which one I'm gonna go with yet. Should drop in the comments below, I guess, if you guys got any experience with them or if you would like to see one over the other, because I think you can't really go wrong with either one. It doesn't seem like they're super high quality steel, and they're both flying pretty well. So these are 250 spine arrows. They have a 135 grain insert system in them, and then the 200 grains up front. That puts me at about 740 grains, and I think it was 19.8 FOC is what Vector had on the box when they sent them to me. So I really like these arrows a lot. I started shooting them last year after I lost that buck, switched over to these, and I just got her sighted in with field points and I screwed the heads on, and I didn't really have to do any sort of adjusting from there. The broadheads flew just like field points, and that's been my favorite thing about working with Vector is I haven't really had to do any sort of arrow tuning after I get the bow sighted in. It's like, I've had a pretty tough time ever since we switched over to these heavier setups. I like the idea of it a lot. I've just had a hard time getting them to tune, and these things are flying like darts, and it just feels good to have a whole quiver of arrows that are flying pretty perfectly, it seems like. So I've been having a lot of fun shooting out further distances than I've been able to the last couple summers. And I mentioned I was going elk hunting this year. That's why I decided to go with a little higher weight than last year. But I've also got a round of arrows that are coming in that are gonna put me at about 600 grains for whitetail hunting that I'm gonna use after the elk hunt, but I wanted something a little bit heavier for elk. So me and Hayden went down to Vector's shop in Wisconsin here and did a tour of it, and they just kind of gave us a little tour of the warehouse there and just explained to us why these arrows fly the way that they do. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but one of the main takeaways I took is all these arrows are spine tested. They've got a little Sharpie mark on where the strongest point on the spine is of these arrows, and I think that has a lot to do with why you can just switch over from your field points to your broadheads and they're just gonna fly completely the same. I haven't had to really knock tune any of these arrows that I've had yet. They're a thick-walled, micro-diameter arrow, so they're really durable. And I shot several animals with them last year, and so did Zach, and I think they were all pass-throughs. So really excited about these things, excited that we're working with Vector, and I just can't wait to start hunting this fall. I think we're starting out in Wyoming, and then I'll be off to Colorado for my first archery elk hunt. So I'm pretty stoked. I've been practicing a whole bunch, quite a bit more than I have the last couple of years, just because I'm so excited about that elk hunt. But broadheads are obviously sharp. I just pulled this one out of the target before and made a stupid mistake, and I've been shooting it at foam most of the summer, and it's still razor sharp. So yeah, that's what I'll be shooting this fall. Help me out in deciding what broadhead I should pick here. I'm gonna shoot some sort of 200 grain single bevel, but maybe help me out in the comments on making my decision.
All right, guys, I'm in the backyard today. I'm in town, so there's various neighbors making noise, so just bear with that. We got a hose going over here. We got neighbor kids screaming, jumping in the pool over here, but I was gonna show you my bow setup. I'm shooting the Bear Divergent EKO cam. And last year and the year prior, I was shooting the regular Bear Divergent. The reason I like these bows is because they're short axle to axle. This is a 30-inch bow. When I've got this short bow like this, and I'm down on the ground, I can draw with it pointed almost completely at the ground, and then I can come up and make the shot. That's important to me, again, with my hunting style, so I always choose a bow that's shorter axle to axle. This being 30 inches, it's perfect for me. I set my bow up with the hot wire sight. I really like the hot wire sight. I think it's one of the best sights on the market, honestly, and the reason is you can have set pins, but you can also move your pins as well, which is really nice for my situation. Hunting out west, I'm more willing to take some longer shots, and being able to adjust that bottom pin is really sweet. I also have the Trophy Ridge Hex Light quiver on it. I really like this quiver personally because it's got a ton of adjustability. I've been messing around with it a little bit, moving it up and down, but I can move it to where I can keep the arrows far enough back so that way I can rest the bow on the cam, like on my foot or something, and I'm not putting those arrows directly into the ground. I really like that about this quiver, it's just all that adjustability on there. And then as far as an arrow setup goes, I'm just using the Vector custom arrows. I'm sure there's a link in the description of this. I think my total arrow setup is about 575 grains. I'm just shooting 125 grain broadhead, and this year I'll be shooting the Grizzly Stik Massai's or the cutthroats. I've got both, haven't really decided which ones I'm gonna shoot yet, but so that's my bow setup. It's nothing fancy. Like I said, I just like that short bow. That's kind of my main thing, just having that shorter axle to axle bow. That way I can draw it staying low to the ground without being detected. Got him, Jake.
Jacob! Are you kidding? Look at you. Yes! Yes! That was so